The moment the girl's backpack hit the concrete with a sharp crack, the schoolyard froze. The bully towered over her, cruel grin stretching across his face as he shoved her again, her glasses skidding across the ground. And just beyond the gate, a battle-worn single-dad soldier named Aiden Walker, fresh from a quiet morning of dropping off his son, locked eyes with a scene that tunneled him straight back to a battlefield he thought he'd left behind. His heart slammed, adrenaline roaring. There was no hesitation, no calculation, no thought of consequences. Only instinct. Only duty. Only the unshakable truth burned into him by war: you always protect the innocent. If you believe kindness and second chances still matter in this world, please like, comment, share, and subscribe to channel name. Your support helps us bring more stories that touch hearts. Aiden moved with the same intensity he had carried through the sandstorms of distant deserts. He didn't shout, didn't bark orders, didn't threaten. He simply stepped between the trembling girl and the angry boy who had raised his hand to strike again. His boots planted firmly, breath steady, posture unbreakable, he shielded the small girl as if she were his own blood. The bully faltered, confusion flickering across his face at the sight of this tall, scarred veteran now standing before him. But the damage was done, bruises were already forming along the girl's arms. Aiden gently lifted her backpack, helped her stand, and walked her toward the school office, unaware that this simple act, this instinctive protection, would set in motion a chain of events far larger than he could ever imagine. Aiden Walker was a man living on the edge of exhaustion. Raising his 10-year-old son, Liam, alone while juggling part-time construction jobs and night shifts had carved fatigue into every line on his face. Bills were always late. Meals were always simple. His son's school fees were paid in fragments. His tiny apartment rattled whenever trucks passed by. But he never complained. He had fought for years to become a father who made his son feel safe, even while he secretly wondered if he was doing enough. That morning, he had been thinking about nothing except rushing to his next shift. He never expected that defending a fragile stranger would rewrite the rhythm of his life. Inside the school, teachers swarmed the frightened girl, whose name he learned was Emily. She clung to her backpack as though it were a shield, her hair messy from the scuffle, tears clinging to her eyelashes. Aiden stepped back to give her space, ready to slip out quietly. He didn't want trouble. He didn't want attention. He didn't want praise. But when the principal asked him to stay for a report, he lowered himself into a small chair with a sigh, wishing he could just get to work to avoid losing another day's pay. Emily said very little. Her voice was thin, barely audible. But she kept glancing at Aiden as if anchoring herself to his presence. Her gratitude was silent, almost shy, but deeply felt. He offered her a reassuring nod, then left without expecting anything more. He didn't know her last name. Didn't know her background. Didn't know that she was carefully hiding a truth big enough to reshape everything. The report he filed meant getting to his job late. His boss was already unhappy with him. Hours were cut that very day. The next week was even worse, he was told there might not be shifts at all. Aiden walked home that evening under a dim streetlight, shoulders heavy, wondering how many more setbacks he could take. Liam noticed his father's silence and quietly sat beside him on the torn couch, resting his head on Aiden's arm. In that moment, Aiden realized that no matter how difficult life became, he would always step in when someone needed help. That was who he was. That was all he had left. He didn't expect the knock on his door 4 days later. Aiden froze when he opened it. Standing in the hallway was a stern-faced man in uniform, decorated, polished, unmistakably powerful. His chest bore rows of medals, his expression sharp enough to carve stone. Behind him stood Emily, the same quiet girl Aiden had protected. She looked different now, standing straight, chin lifted, eyes bright with admiration instead of fear. And then Aiden saw it, the emblem on the man's uniform. His breath caught. It was the symbol of a 4-star general. General Marcus Hale. A name every soldier knew. Aiden's heart lurched. He expected accusation, interrogation, some kind of formal reprimand for involving himself. Instead, the general saluted him. A crisp, formal salute meant only for equals. Aiden blinked, stunned, returning it out of sheer training. General Hale spoke in a steady voice filled with both authority and emotion. Emily had told him everything. She had told him about the bully. About her fear. About how Aiden had stepped in without hesitation, without knowing who she was, without expecting anything. She told her father that Aiden had become her hero. But what shocked Aiden most were her words that followed. She said he made her feel safe in a way she had never felt, not even behind walls of security officers, because he protected her out of humanity, not obligation. The general then asked Aiden for a favor unlike anything he expected. He wanted Aiden to consider working as a civilian safety instructor on base, helping young recruits and military families with self-defense, discipline, and personal safety, paid, stable, and fully supported. It was a job Aiden never imagined someone like him would be trusted with. But the general wasn't finished. He stepped aside and revealed a small folder, a scholarship form already approved for Liam, ensuring the boy could attend a better school with full financial support. Emily smiled softly, and in that smile Aiden saw something rare, a connection built from courage, innocence, and gratitude. For the first time in years, hope spread across Aiden's chest like sunlight breaking over a battlefield. He accepted the offer, his voice thick, unable to fully express the weight lifting off his shoulders. Days turned into weeks, and the change was immediate. Aiden found himself working in an environment that respected his experience instead of using him up. Liam thrived in his new school. Emily visited often, bringing stories, smiles, and shy thank yous. A friendship grew between the families, one rooted in the day a soldier stood up for a stranger. As Aiden trained young recruits, he found his own confidence returning, his sense of purpose reigniting. The base became a new beginning, a second chance he never knew he deserved. And every time he saw Emily walking safely with her father, he felt grateful that he had listened to his instinct that day. Life didn't magically become perfect. Bills still needed paying. Challenges still came. But now Aiden no longer fought alone. He had community, support, respect, and above all, he had the knowledge that one act of kindness had changed everything. If this story touched your heart, please like, comment, share, and subscribe to channel name. Your support helps us bring more beautiful and inspiring stories every day. Before the ending, take a moment to comment. What did you learn from Aiden's act of courage? In the end, Aiden realized something profound. Sometimes the smallest decisions, stepping forward, protecting someone, choosing kindness, become the turning points that reshape entire lives. His story became a reminder not only to others, but to himself, that even in the darkest moments, doing the right thing can open doors no one ever expected. And for the first time in a long time, as Aiden watched his son play in the sunlight outside their new home, he felt peace settle inside him, knowing he had finally stepped into a future where hope lived again.